But first, we're going to do a quick summary, and then we're going to dive into the review, y'all. Cat and Eva over here arguing over a man that has an agenda. He tried to tell. First, she was like, don't try. I think Cat told him not to try to make it seem like, okay, this ain't what she think it is and stuff like that. He's about to say, oh, I was just helping her move. I said, you helping her move, all right? I said, you helping her move, all right? Somebody said he was just helping her move. I said, Eva, did you hear that? I'm thinking, okay, they both see. At least one of them see what he doing. No. But yeah, he tried to tell Cat that he was helping Eva move. And I said that should have been enough to show both of them. Then I'm gonna say this fast, and then we're gonna talk about the other stuff. I said I will say he's more protective over Eva. Y'all notice that? It's like he don't want Cat to say nothing about her, but she can say this and that. Now he did try to interfere with them going back and forth with each other and stuff like that. But at the same time, you caused this. You part of the problem. You are. And I seen a lot of people saying he's not. A lot of people saying that Tomas didn't do nothing wrong. He has every right to be with Eva. And I was like, it's funny, once again, how we all can be viewing something and we all have different opinions and we all entitled to them. But I think that's a load of baloney. He knew doggone well he was in a relationship with this girl. He went and told Eva what he knew she wanted to hear. Because she was like, you made it seem like he was free. But I said, you got to remember in the hotel, he tried to make it seem like he was free then too. But what he do when she came? Lied like he was there. What he said, he was there for a book, whatever he said. But yeah, let's get back to it. I said he more protective over Eva than Cat. He told Eva he was using her, and he implied that he was using Cat. He said he was trying to explain things to Eva, and he was talking about something when reality came knocking or whatever. And I was like, I said it kind of seemed like he using both of them. Ain't that what he just said? When reality came knocking or whatever. I said, what that mean? But yeah, Eva said he basically want Cat because she could make him more presentable, and I have to agree. But Eva started telling him how they belong together, and she thought he finally seen that they belong together, and he shouldn't have to convince Cat this and that because she inexperienced and all. I said that none of that should have anything to do with anything. He's the red flag. I about to say he got all these red flags, but he is the flag. He is the red flag. He is the red flag or whatever. And I was like, they just going back and forth. They was talking more than he was talking. He should be the one explaining himself. He should have been like, look, Cat, this is what happened or whatever. I'm giving Eva a chance, whatever. He didn't do none of that. Instead, he lied. When Cat was there, he was trying to explain things to her. Then when she left, he trying to explain things to Eva. But I was like, But yeah, he did imply that he was using Cat as well. But yeah, he was like, Eva basically said, let me see, I lost my spot. Eva said he basically want Cat because she can make him more presentable, and I agree. Eva started telling him how they belong together, and Cat ends up telling Chelsea she loves him. She was like, I never heard you say that before and all this other stuff. She was just trying to talk some sense to him. But then she ends up saying what we all knew. She doesn't want Eva to win. I said, girl, she had to win that. We way past that right now. Now, back in the day, yeah, but nowadays, no. N-O spells no. But yeah, I was like, hold on. But yeah, she was just saying how she don't want her to win. Ted and Andre still drinking. Neither one of them have learned anything. Carlton and Nicole end up kissing and Ted saw. Madison was just supporting Chelsea. Vanessa ends up telling Joy how she wants to go to the crash site and see if she notices anything. But Joy was basically telling her she needs to focus on making Doug funeral arrangement. Martin ends up telling Smitty he leaving him because he can't do this back and forth stuff. He can't, because Smitty thought stuff was sweet too. Smitty thought he was going to get ready to hook up with him, kiss him and everything, but he don't want him to get off the couch. So that's why he leaving him. June likes Ted. And I already said how Chelsea trying to talk some sense into Cat, but she hard of hearing. She hard-headed. I always mixed it up. But yeah, so now we're finna dive into the review. What did y'all think of the episode? Let me know down below. But yeah. At the beginning, they started with Cat now. Cat tells them that they both garbage, and she started going off or whatever. I thought this was going to be the scene where Eva was going to be like, let me explain something. But she was going tit for tat with her. She was going tit for tat with her. She ended up revealing everything Tomas told her. And she's like, you told her our personal business. I said, exactly. And you told Chelsea. I mean, it's a huge difference. It's definitely a difference. But, you know, either way it goes, it's certain things, like I've been steady saying, you don't supposed to share. But, yeah, I was like, Cat, you should have left then. You should have left then. But she had to stand there and read them and go back and forth with Eva and tell Eva how, once again, she's garbage, Tomas garbage, how she just like her mama. I was like, she right. She right. You just said how you didn't like what your mama did, but you just did the same thing, except they ain't married, but they was in a relationship, and you knew that. She tried to tell Tomas after the cat left how, he made it seem like he was free. But once again, didn't he make it seem like he was free when he was laid up in that hotel bed with her? Ain't that what happened? Yeah, exactly. But hold on. But yeah, we're gonna come back to it. Andre ends up telling Ted that he got married and they would just talk about that. Nicole ends up showing up with Carlton. Vanessa ends up going to Joy saying how she wants to talk to the police. And I was like, here they go again doing stupid stuff. I said, don't make him look, he like you. He might even love you. We don't know yet. He hasn't said anything or whatever. But if you get to talking about going to the police and stuff, you next in line, sweetheart. You gonna be next in line. What's wrong with these folks? I did see somebody saying they think that Malone, and Doug and Randy all working with the FBI and they trying to take Joey down or whatever. I said, I don't know. Y'all think so? Like, what are y'all thoughts? Let me know down below. I do think that Doug gonna come back. I have been hearing some stuff, but I don't know how true it is. But yeah, I think they giving him room to come back because they said they didn't see nobody. They didn't find nobody. Y'all know with soap operas, they bring people back, even if they have a body, technically. They be freezing people on ice. I'm gonna forever mention that. They don't froze people on ice on General Hospital and brought them back. But yeah, what else? Chelsea ends up showing Madison the purse sales. Joy said he tried to help Doug too, or whatever, basically get him in these classes and stuff like that to help him with his gambling addiction and all that. I said, you tried to help him, all right. You, the one set this in motion. You seen that he had a problem. In fact, you what they call it? What they call it? When they spark the fire. I don't know how to explain it. But you said you largely responsible for it. You knew what he was doing. You knew what you was doing. You knew what he was doing. Randy kept trying to interfere and stop. But no, I do think that Randy's trying to set Joey up. But we'll see how that goes. But yeah, he over here talking about, yeah, I tried to help him too, because Vanessa was still blaming herself, saying how she should have done something. He was her husband, how she knew how he was gambling and all this stuff. I was like, first of all, Vanessa, she was like, when she said that she want to go where it all started or whatever, or where she was talking about how she was on the phone with him and she needed to know what happened that led up to it in between that phone conversation and his wreck, and she needed to go where it all started. So she was like, the crash site. I said, no. Where it all started was when he went gambling. I said, use your brain now, sweetheart. Use your brain. I feel like she kind of know too. Now I don't know. But yeah, what else? Let's see. Joan ends up talking to Naomi about guys she met, and they were just teaching her how to flirt and stuff like that. So then she ends up revealing that it was Theodore Richardson, and they was like Ted or whatever, and they was saying how he already with somebody and he basically ain't no good. But they didn't say that, there was Samantha and them granddaddy, and they was talking about it after she got up to go help somebody. I thought this was gonna be the episode where Naomi allegedly found out that she was pregnant, but I ain't see that part. What else? Martin and Smitty end up talking, and that's when Smitty tried to kiss him, and he backed away, and he was like, what's going on? That's when he ended up explaining, might as well get them out the way. He ended up explaining to him that, you can't just use me for sex and stuff like that. Either I'm with you all the way or I'm not. We'll figure out where things stand and stuff like that. And he already, no, it's not, I never this and that, and want to cry and stuff. I said, I understand you have every right to feel how you feel, but at the same time, you can't have it both ways. And I just said that the other day. I said, they're going to have to get tired of this. They're going to have to get tired of this. I said, one of them going to have to get tired of this. And then it was something else. What did he say? Oh, I think it was Kat when she was talking to Chelsea. Kat said something about the Dupree women being cursed or something like that because everybody getting divorced and breaking up and everybody with cheating men or was with cheating men. And I said, you know what? I said, all the Dupree's cursed. I said, all of them, because now Martin, the situation is, I ain't going to say it's over because I feel like they might reunite. We'll see. Well, I said, I said, now it's supposed to be one couple that lasts now. I said, Naomi and Jacob, I only hope, y'all. I only hope. I was like, they supposed to, somebody needs to show. I have to agree. When I see people post about how shows and movies need to start displaying black love and stuff like that in a positive light versus all this toxic crap, I have to agree. Because every time you see something, it's bad, horrible. Now, I know everything ain't going to be perfect and stuff like that. Now, I would like to see that how everything is not perfect. But this cheating, abusive stuff, no. What else? Let's see. Tomas ends up apologizing, saying he's sorry. Andre asked Ted what he was thinking with sleeping with Leslie again. Um, then they start talking about Nicole, about how he wants to find her soft spot or whatever and try to win her back. You don't miss the opportunity. She over here kissing another man. She over here kissing another man. You just walked away. You just over here looking from across the room. I say, what the world going on? And they did, when he went over there to talk to Nicole and stuff like that and confront Carlson, it did seem like a moment where they was gonna get into it or whatever. But yeah, I was like, now you choose to try to do something. You could have went over there to Nicole's house, and try to pursue her. But no, instead you went laid up with this woman. Or she came over. Didn't she come over? Yeah, she came over to his hotel, right? But yeah, what else? Let's see. Um, Chelsea was recording a video basically thanking her fans for their support and talking about everything that happened with Allison. Eva ends up telling Kat everything Tomas told her. She felt some type of way about that, but not enough to see Tomas for who he is. Vanessa wants to visit crash site. We already talked about that. June ended up telling Naomi and Jacob to his name, and that's when they told her about him. Kat asked if the Freeze women are cursed, and I said, yes, they are. She ends up telling Chelsea what happened. That's when Chelsea was like, okay, you already said that y'all was barely hanging on. So the whole Eva situation, that should show you that basically y'all didn't have no strong foundation and all that. She ain't trying to hear none of that. She basically saying how she was crossing her too. And she was like, no, that's not what's happening. I'm trying to tell you, y'all was already going through it. And this just further proves it. She's like, no, it don't. No, it don't. Basically, she loved him. She loved Tomas or whatever. And they just going through a rough patch and all this other stuff. And I said, oh, my goodness. I said, Kat, no. Kat, maybe Eva would stick to it. Because Eva ended up putting him out. But at the same time, remember last time in the hotel room when she ends up putting him out and she was like, the end. Next thing you know, she meeting up with him. I was like, man, here we go. This love triangle. It ain't going nowhere no time soon. Don't look like y'all. But yeah, what else? Let's see. Vanessa, I already talked about that. Kat asked the Dupree women curse. Tomas said they shouldn't have done what they did. It was a nice, beautiful distraction and all this other stuff. She was like, what? That's when he ended up saying how he was using her or whatever. And he should have never, took it that far. He should have just had a conversation with Kat. And she was like, what are you saying right now? Don't try to, now that you feel guilty or and all this other stuff, you trying to make it seem like it wasn't nothing special and all this other stuff. And she just stood telling him how, they belong together. And I thought you finally seen that I'm the one you belong with. We've been spending all this time together. See? We've been spending all this time together and all this other stuff. Just steady trying to get him to pick her and choose her. And she was like, you still, out of all that, you still want Kat. I said, you should never let your mama get in your head. That's what really happened. You let your mama get in your head. Now you did want him or whatever. And I did see somebody. I said, I'm confused. I seen somebody, hold on. Okay. I'm confused. I seen people saying that Eva was interested in Tomas first. But didn't he pursue Kat? Wasn't they talking and getting to know each other before Eva even came into the picture? I'm confused. Now I have been saying he been wanting both of them. That's obvious. Today's episode should have showed that whoever in his face is who he want in that moment. He over here defending Eva to Kat, but then after she leave, he talking about some Kat and I, we have something and all this other stuff. I was waiting on him to say love just like Kat did. And also, like, a lot of people team Eva and Tomas. I can't root for neither one of them. I can't root for neither one of them. I do feel like he's going to end up with Eva, though, because Kat don't want him. She definitely don't want him. And that's another thing, too. Eva was saying how, she claimed that he was broken and he was the problem, but it must be her because he was good to her. It was good for her. Talking about how he held on and all that. I said, you proud that you a skis? You over here bragging about sleeping with somebody. Forget the sister part, because y'all obviously ain't sisters right now. Maybe down the line. Maybe. That's a big maybe. I was like, you bragging like, they a couple, right? Or they was, at least. I don't know. They didn't break up. He just a liar. He just allowed you to believe that they broke up. They never broke up. They was still a couple. So you just like your mama. And she realized that. She started saying how she did what she said she'd never do or she thought she'd never do. Basically, go after a man that wants somebody else just like her mama did. And I was like, yep, you Leslie 2.0. That's what you get for hanging around her all the time. You see that she full of crap. And they just completely dropped the storyline about this lady running that lady off the road, didn't they? including the Haley situation. I was like, that's what we wanted to see. That's what we wanted to see. But yeah, we knew about this little triangle, y'all. We definitely did. Is there anything I forgot? I already said to him, I said he used Eva. He said how he shouldn't have done it. He shouldn't have slept with her, and she was just saying they belong together and all this other stuff. He was like, it was a mistake. It was a beautiful mistake, and they shouldn't have did it and everything. Smitty was trying to kiss Martin, but he wouldn't let him. He ends up telling him, he leaving, and he wanted to know why, and that's when he explained he can't do that back and forth, that hot and cold stuff. Either you in or you out, and I agree. Either you in or you out. You can't be picky, choosy. What else? Jacob ends up talking to Naomi about the whole Joey Doug situation, and she was like, that doesn't, that's not related. That's when he ends up remembering his conversation with Doug. And I was like, oh my goodness. He ends up mentioning that the dude that died and all this other stuff. And she's like, you said you weren't going to mention anything like that about the whole Malone situation. And I said, you should have known he wasn't going to drop nothing. So he's starting to put the pieces together. And she knows that he's digging. I said, you're going to dig yourself a grave right beside Doug. Right beside Doug. But it is his job to do that, though. But what else? Let's see. Joey ends up telling Vanessa, instead of going to the crash site and stuff like that, she needs to be making arrangements. She needs to be focused on Doug's funeral arrangement. And if she need anything, he got her, because his responsibility now or whatever. Until she finds somebody else she won't. I said, what happens if she replaced Doug with somebody else? What happens then, sir? But yeah, what else? Chelsea tells Kat that someone better would come along. She was like, she don't want nobody better. She wants Tomas. And she was like, what? She was like, you just found out he was sleeping with somebody else, sleeping with your half sister, and you talking about you still want him? She's like, yeah, I can't let her win. Tomas ends up telling Eva that they friends. She's like, friends or whatever. And I said, just let them go. Turn them loose. Turn them loose. And I also said everybody's relationship just ended, because that's when Smitty and, hold on, y'all. I hate to fix it, y'all. But yeah, I said everybody relationship ending because Martin finna get ready to leave Smitty. Ted ends up seeing Nicole and Carson kiss. I said, hey, look, these people be too calm. I was like, yeah, this isn't realistic. Well, it kind of is for certain people. But majority of people wouldn't be that calm. I mean, he is a cheater, so he ain't got no say-so around here. But you just seen your wife kissing somebody else. She was calm enough. Now he over here. I said, yeah, look at it. It ain't so good, is it? It ain't so good, is it? I said, these people got class, I guess. They got class, I guess. They calm. They patient. They is kind. What else? Let me see. I already said Kat talking about so she loves Tomas. She doesn't want Eva to win. Eva tells Tomas she the one he belongs with. She ends up kicking him out and tell him, get the H word out and don't you ever come back. And I said, good. I said, stick to it, girl. Stick to it. And she just broke down crying at the end of the episode, and that was the last thing. She was on the floor crying. I said, get up, because you knew better. Get up, because you knew better. You and Cat playing a dangerous game. Then when he pop up with his wife, then what? I said, because look, he over here, he using Eva for sex. Well, they just slept together once, but yeah. This is my theory. Well, this ain't my theory. This is just something I'm saying. This is the end of the review if you didn't figure that out by now. Well, my theory is, this man, he got a whole nother situation going on. He used Kat because she connected to Bill and all that comes with it, like Eva said. He finna use her for he used Eva for conversation and now sex or whatever. He gonna pop up with somebody else. That's what's gonna happen. He gonna pop up with somebody else. I did see when the show first started, people were saying that he's trying to take Bill's job. People were saying how he's undercover. What else did they say? I know they said he was undercover. He trying to take Bill down. He trying to take his job. What else? It was something else. What did they say? It was something about Bill. What else did they say? I don't know, but they had a whole bunch of theories about the whole Tomas situation. But I was like, I don't know. I said one thing I do know, one thing I actually believe is that he want both of them. He wants both of them, but more so Eva, in my opinion. I think he want Eva more, but because Kat's so connected and she a Dupree and all this other stuff, that's what he want. But yeah, I said, Kat, see, you done messed up. And a lot of people was blaming Kat. Now, I will say that Kat was giving him a hard time. Not giving him a hard time. Is that what I want to say? How do I say this? I don't agree with everything that Kat was doing, but I don't agree with him telling her how to feel about the whole evil situation when she continued to prove her right. If you continue to prove her right, and that's basically what she told her as well. She told her how everybody just kept saying I was wrong about you to give you a chance or whatever. Now I see you for who you really are. I said, but you don't see Tomas. You're not wrong about Eva because she continuing to prove that she like her mama. And I like Eva. I actually like Eva. I like her character. I like Leslie's character too, even though she be doing too much. I think who I don't like is the priest. I ain't gonna lie. I'm like I be rooting for them, and I like when they had a little fashion and all this other stuff. But I said I'm starting not to like them. I was like, I don't know, y'all. Who we supposed to root for? Who y'all rooting for? Who are y'all rooting for? I said I don't know who to root for at this point. I don't be having favorite characters and stuff. I do like Eva character, like I said. I like Leslie character. I do think she be doing too much. I think Cat be doing too much. I don't know. I think Danny's okay, but for the most part, I think everybody got skeletons in their closet and they hiding stuff. But yeah, that's it. That's all. I think that was the everything, y'all. The everything. Let me know y'all thoughts on this episode down below. Stay tuned for the next review. Until next time, deuces. Have a great rest of the day. Well, great rest of the night and be safe.